Well, good evening and welcome to week 5 of Business 411. And as we head into this holiday week, which hopefully will be a little bit less crazy than the last couple of men, I'd like to talk to you, as I usually do, about where we're going and where we've been. So let me start off with where we've been. And my most interesting thing coming into the end of week 4, because of the selection of videos, it just shows why I have to do this class individually every time. In last week's material, there are a couple of things that I think are extremely important. One of them is that video that we have, the TED Talk from Senthil Mullainathan. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. But I think that video on the last mile problem is one of the most powerful speeches I've ever listened to. Not that it's inspirational, not that it's anything earth-shattering. The point is earth-shattering because it brought me, and I think a lot of other people, back to reality. Why don't we ever finish anything? Why do we not accomplish things that we know we can, that we have the ability to do? Happens to us as individuals, happens to us as organizations. A lot of times we get almost to the end, never quite finish it off. And you know, it's very interesting because this class, you guys seem to have picked up on that, and you've made a lot of wonderful, excellent comments about it, and I think a lot of people see the value in the inclusion of that piece in the course. There have been some classes, I will be very honest with you, that a couple of times I've run this class, and I can't get people to talk about that video, much less even think that they've watched it. I don't know whether it's they get in a little bit, and you're talking about infant mortality and health problems and building bridges and things like that, and they're sitting there saying to themselves, what's this got to do with business? What's this got to do with a business strategy? Well, I think it's got everything to do with business and business strategy, and you can see how he's done a tremendous job, I think, presenting us with a reality that we all need to confront and that our organizations need to confront. And I just want to say how pleased I am to see everybody's comments about it. Another one, I think, in last week's material that very often just baffles people is the BMW commercial. What's that got to do with anything? It's this walking thing, wind-powered thing that just walks down a beach. But I think the most telling thing in the whole video is at the end when the artist says that the wall between art and engineering exists only in our mind. Well, walls between a lot of concepts exist only in our mind. And in crafting an effective business strategy, and hopefully you saw it when we did the work on vision and mission, a lot of walls need to be broken down because, frankly, maybe those walls are what are keeping us from going that last mile. So there's a lot of things put together here, and in holding the whole concept together. I think if you just take those two videos together, it should have been a full week. I will take your advice. I will take that Tom Peters slide deck and cut it down, and maybe fix up some of the graphics. He puts it into the public domain and invites people to use it, and I have. And yes, it's loud and colorful and too long and redundant and hard to read and all that, but it makes some tremendous points. So for the moment I decided to leave it in the condition it is. Tom Peters, I think, is one of the best management thinkers I've ever come across. He's one of the few guys I'll actually go out and buy one of his books, maybe actually go and listen to one of his talks. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a very interesting guy. He's probably in his 70s now. I wish I had the energy that he has when making presentations. I tend to be a little bit loudmouthed and demonstrative like he is when I do speak in public, so maybe I am taking after him a bit. But The reason that's in there, and I admit again that a lot of the information is a little dated, it's a little old, but I think it presents some realities and some conditions that we don't normally think of when we think of the marketplace and who's making decisions and why we make decisions and why we do things. There are a lot of realities that we are just not aware of on a daily basis. And I think if there's anything else you can take out of those massive number of slides is an awareness of what really is going on. And if your business doesn't understand these realities, be assured that some other business does, and that they're going to take advantage of it. And they're going to be out there. You know, when you look at, just a little hint, when you look at our case that you're working on, and I don't mean this to prejudice your thinking at all, but it's a way I would think about it. You know, the way we wrote that case, I presented you with the fact of a company that was in a leading market position, and suddenly it has a catastrophic event, and it's knocked out of the market. Well, you know what? That's a terrible occurrence if you're that company. If you're that company's competitors, you're sitting there rubbing your hands and going, "Whew, they're out of here for a while." You know, everybody's sitting back and waiting for that opportunity. Just because you're out of business and you're not able to produce and you're not able to satisfy the market doesn't mean that the demand you were satisfying went away. And somebody else will step in and fill that void. So that's just a little aside about the case, and let me I will come back to that in a minute. Let me get into what's going to happen this week. What do we have for you? A couple of things. The book and the PowerPoint from the book. We're in Chapter 6 now. Chapter 6 is going to talk a lot about industry development, industry positioning, the stages of development of an industry. You know, embryonic stage, growth stage, maturity, all those. And when you read that this week, I want you to consider it as a question about where does your company stand, where do your thoughts stand with it. The discussion board is all about that, and that's pretty standard stuff. A lot of you probably saw it in marketing classes and before. When we talk about stages of product development, a lot of times we talk about a product life cycle. Here we're talking almost about an industry life cycle. So that's the base there. Going to move in. There's a video, one from the Harvard Business School series again, about something very interesting. You know, we all hear about thinking outside the box. Man, I hear that phrase all the time, right? Well, the video you're going to see talks about thinking inside the box. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Thinking inside the box. What does that mean to you? I have a video that I made on a very hot summer evening many months ago when I was offering this course, and I'm going to offer you some of my thoughts about the concept of what I just called box thinking. To give you a little preview, I'm tired of thinking outside the box. That's going on my list of phrases I'm just tired of hearing. We have to. It's so old. It's not thinking outside the box anymore. So let's go on and find something new. Another concept we're going to introduce this week too is disruptive innovation, and if you look at that one, put that together with the box videos. Think what that means. Think what that means in terms of product, in terms of market, in terms of strategy. I think you're going to find that very interesting. He gives some very good examples of disruptive innovations and what they do to the marketplace. So maybe not quite as much stuff as last week, but again, I think some very powerful stuff. The other thing I'm going to add very quickly, because it's time to do it, I'm going to add a discussion board to use so you can ask questions about the project. Because rest assured, if you have that question, probably 2/3 of the class has the same question and are wondering about it. So I'm going to put that together. So if I answer any one of you, I'll be answering everyone at the same time. So I think that's important. A couple hints about the project. Your groups, I believe it looked like everything was ready, and I haven't heard from anybody that you haven't been able to get into your group. If you haven't been able to get into your group, please get to me right away so we can fix that. The groups all should have their own discussion board. They should all have their own within the group email. They should have file sharing capabilities. If anything doesn't seem to be working there, again, tell me so I can jump on it. And just remember, another little hint about the project. Remember, this is a forward-looking project, so it's not a backwards look. It's not a report at what really happened in the real world. The facts I gave you, yes, are roughly about a case that happened about 20 years ago. But you're to pick up at that point where you're standing in the parking lot with that main character, Jake Farnsworth, and looking for a way to go forward. Okay, so you're building your strategy. I don't want to know what really happened. Anybody can go pick up a bunch of business weeks over the last 15 years and read what happened to the real company. And to give you a little insight, if I haven't already, the real company's name was Malden Mills. So that might take you a little bit back, so you could do a little bit more backward-looking research. But the forward-looking research from the point of the fire, that's irrelevant for this case. I want you to treat it as though you were working right here in 2012, going forward and building a strategy. I'm also going to do something else I don't normally tell classes about the case. This is the third time I've used it. And read it carefully. The only thing I'm going to say is read it carefully. You're not a consumer products company per se. I've had a number of the cases that I've gotten back are people are going to go out and manufacture clothing. That's okay if that's a new venture you're taking on. Go back and look and see what we call Family Fabrics, what they were doing. They weren't making jackets, guys, okay? They weren't making sweatshirts. They were making fabric. If you want to go into the clothing industry, then you're taking another leap. Perfectly okay for this project. In fact, maybe a really neat thing to do because of this project. But don't act like it was what you were always doing. So, okay, make sure you read the case carefully and get the facts on. Okay, if there's any questions, I believe you guys know where to find me. I think everybody's doing great with the discussion board. I try really hard. Last week we had some really unexpected long, lengthy meetings and discussions about our accreditation process and the national accreditation that we're seeking. It's a very time-consuming, but I think very beneficial process for the university. So I apologize. I did not get to your grades until Wednesday, and I'm going to try to get there a little faster this week if I can. And remember, I try to give everybody at least a comment that tells you a little bit why you got what you got. Don't believe in just putting in a number. That doesn't do anybody any good. If I don't talk to everybody before then, happy Thanksgiving. Get going on the project. We've got 4 weeks to do it, and look forward to everybody's continuing their discussions and their questions and the good work everybody's put in. Okay? Thanks again. Good night.